Hang on tight, honey.
Okay.
26 feet. Are you at the corner?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
21. We need to leave, now. Hello?
In the middle of the night, a stranger with a cane breaks into the Conroy house. Ella is awakened by the noise and she's so scared that she rushes to close the door. When she gets back in bed, she's shocked to find the stranger sitting next to her. He calls her by her name and tells her not to curse because it's a sin. Ella wonders why he knows her name, but he just says that he knows lots of things before grabbing her face. At that moment, Ella wakes up, only for the old man to grab her by the neck and lift her as he says that he knows something about her dad. Suddenly Ella's father Theo wakes up from this nightmare and goes to check on his daughter, who is still sleeping peacefully. Then he takes his medicine and complains about the constant nightmares. Sometime later Theo is relaxing by the pool while listening to a meditation podcast that is supposed to help people with nightmares. His wife Susanna asks him to pick up Ella since she has work, and Theo asks her if he can visit her at the movie set tomorrow. Susanna agrees with a kiss, but Theo still gets annoyed because she keeps laughing at her coworkers' texts. The next day Theo tries to visit Susanna at work, but the guard claims that he doesn't have Theo's name on the list so he doesn't let him pass. Because of the age difference, the guard wonders if Theo is Susanna's father. In the background, Susanna is acting in a dirty scene for the movie and Theo has to pretend it doesn't bother him. After waiting for a while, Theo is finally allowed to go in and he's bothered again by Susanna hugging a coworker. When she sees him, she apologizes for having to do that scene and complains about the director being a creep. Theo tells her what happened and Susanna swears she put his name on the list. However, Theo theorizes that the guard recognized him and didn't let him pass because he thought he was dangerous. Susanna admits she likes that and convinces him to get naughty in the car. When they're done, Susanna says she could retire since Theo is rich, but he knows she wouldn't be happy that way. Instead, they agree to go on a vacation. That night, a booking is confirmed on the internet for a lovely house in the Welsh countryside. Sometime later, the family is on their way to the holiday house. Theo and Susanna are arguing about her driving but they're interrupted by Ella, who asks if Theo will die first because he's older. Her parents fail to explain matters of life and death to her, and this distraction almost causes them to crash. Thankfully Susanna dodges the other car just in time. Eventually they reach the house and they're impressed by how beautiful it is. Ella keeps running around, so Theo calms her down and finally gives her a proper answer. One day everyone will die, but they'll meet again in heaven. That night Ella is doing shadow puppets on her bed. Suddenly a human-shaped shadow appears next to hers and a startled Ella turns around, but it's just her father. She tells him that she saw a shadow, but Theo brushes it off and tucks her in. After she hides under the blankets, the shadow leaves her room. Afterward Theo tells Susanna that the thermostat is broken. Since the booking is under her name, he asks her to call the owner Stetler in the morning to ask for repairs. Ella sneaks out of bed to spy on her parents, but as soon as they see her she runs back to her room. In the living room, Theo turns off all the lights but can't find the right switch for the lamp in the corner, so it stays on. At 10:35, Theo enters the laundry room to turn off that light too, but he's shocked to discover a picture on the wall. It shows a man standing on the basement door with a flashing light. Theo ignores it and leaves, closing the door behind him. He doesn't see the light turning on again. When he enters his bedroom, Susanna is already asleep. He sits next to her and she's startled awake. After telling him that she had a very bad dream, she scolds him for taking so long to turn off the lights and falls asleep again. Theo thinks she's joking and goes to sleep too without realizing that it's 3:12. For the rest of the night, Theo keeps dreaming about a tub, a man with a cane, and a woman's dead body. When he wakes up, he notices it's 10:46, which is strange because he never oversleeps. A note on the nightstand says that Susanna and Ella went out for a walk. Theo decides to write in his meditation notebook, describing how angry and confused he feels. As he writes, the shadow behind him grows. When his pen runs out of ink, he throws it away in frustration. In the woods, Ella is climbing a tree, ignoring her mother's protests. Suddenly she slips and falls, but luckily Susanna catches her. Then Ella asks why people dislike her dad. Susanna explains that Theo's first wife self-deleted in the bathtub and people thought he killed her. He was later acquitted at trial, but his reputation was already ruined. Meanwhile Theo goes to the village to buy some groceries. The shopkeeper realizes he's staying at the house on the hills and asks if anything has happened yet, but Theo doesn't understand the question. The man also asks if he's met Stetler, so Theo says no. When Theo is about to leave, the shopkeeper gives him a drafting triangle and tells him to measure the right angles. Outside, a woman is waiting against the car. She asks how he found the house, so he tells her about the website and that he hasn't seen Stetler. The woman says that Stetler has seen Theo before she leaves. When Theo returns home, Ella tells him she's sorry about what happened to him. A furious Theo talks to Susanna in private and they have an argument. They blame each other for having chosen this place, but both deny having found the link and think the other saw it first. During dinner, Ella notices that her parents aren't talking and pats Theo's hand while Susanna is constantly texting in the background. Before bed, Susanna takes a bath and leaves her phone in the bedroom. Theo uses the chance to read her messages, but there are no signs of cheating anywhere. Next he checks her tablet and her laptop, but they don't have anything either. When Susanna comes out of the bathroom, Theo apologizes for his attitude lately. Hours pass and Theo can't fall asleep. He decides to listen to his meditation podcast and keeps thinking about the mysterious guy with the cane, Susanna in the tub, and his dead wife opening her eyes in the water. Suddenly Theo opens his eyes too and realizes he fell asleep. He opens his notebook to keep writing only to find the words "you should leave now," which he doesn't remember writing. Suddenly he hears someone screaming in the distance and he turns around to check, but his reflection in the window doesn't do the same. There are 3 shelves against the wall looking normal. Theo then looks at his notebook again, but the noise repeats. He turns around once more and the reflection freezes this time too. On the wall, one of the shelves has been replaced by a door. Theo decides to open it and finds the stairs to the basement. The area is quite big, so Theo looks at the corridor next to it because the layout still doesn't make sense. A curious Theo goes downstairs and finds an old unkept corridor. As he wanders around, he senses someone moving behind him. Eventually he finds a dark corridor and sees the silhouette of a man entering a room as a camera flashes inside, matching the picture from the laundry room. Theo enters the room and finds a bunch of photographs on the floor. To his shock, there's a picture of himself with Ella. Nearby he also finds an empty bottle and Ella's plush bunny. When he picks it up, he sees some legs behind a door. Theo rushes into that room and is devastated to find a dead Ella. He picks her and brings her to the first room, only for water to come out of Ella's mouth, indicating she drowned. A desperate Theo begins to repeat that this has to be a dream, and his hands strike multiple times to try to wake up. Since it doesn't work, the bottle gets shattered and is used to cut his arm. This isn't effective either, so the bottle stabs Theo's neck. At that moment Theo finally wakes up. Susanna is already up and tells him about a silly nightmare she had. Theo takes her downstairs to show her the shelves, the laundry room, and the picture while describing what happened, but Susanna assures him that he never left the bed. They both admit they hate this house, so they agree to leave. While packing, Susanna explains to Ella that they'll finish their vacation in London, and afterward she'll be away for 2 months to be in a movie. Later Ella and Susanna are playing outside while Theo is gathering any remaining groceries. He sees how happy his family is and texts Susanna telling her that they're cute. Susanna pulls out her phone, but at the same time, a phone on the kitchen counter vibrates. Theo sends a second message and this time looks at the other phone screen to see it appear. Susanna is texting outside and he doesn't receive anything, which means she has a secret phone. Now he's paranoid again. A furious Theo rushes to his notebook only to discover that the weird message is still there, so that wasn't part of his dream. When he flips the page, he finds new words that say "you should have left, now it's too late." Then Theo runs outside and confronts Susanna about the second phone. She admits she's been having an affair with a coworker, but she never brought him to the house. They argue for a while and Theo ends up kicking Susanna out, saying he needs just one night alone. While Theo hugs an upset Ella, Susanna leaves in the car only to stop in the middle of the road to have a breakdown. Afterward Theo is on the verge of losing his patience because Ella refuses to eat Welsh food and keeps driving her scooter around the kitchen. When she accidentally drops a glass of water she immediately apologizes, so Theo calms down and hugs her. Ella admits she doesn't like the house because it gives her bad dreams and bad moods, and she wants to leave. Theo promises they'll leave tomorrow when Susanna returns with the car. As Theo turns around, he notices that the water on the floor is moving in 2 separate puddles. He brings another glass of water and pours it on the floor, and the same happens. The liquid splits and joins the previous puddles. Theo also uses the drafting triangle to check the angles and finds an anomaly between the wall and the floor. Next Theo and Ella use a measuring tape to take the exact measurements of the kitchen and living room. They repeat the process outside and discover that the house is strangely larger on the inside. Ella says she's cold, so Theo tells her to get her jacket. She immediately rushes to the door, but he doesn't see her come in. Suddenly Ella appears on the opposite side of the kitchen and waves at him after grabbing her jacket, but when she crosses the door again, she doesn't come out. A worried Theo rushes inside and finds the jacket on the floor but no Ella. He searches every room in the house yet he can't find her anywhere. At the same time, Ella is in the mysterious corridor from the dream. Theo keeps searching and goes through a different door, only to return to the living room. Behind him, a strange shadow flickers. Then Theo runs out through another door and goes back to open the first one. This time he finds the usual corridor, so he keeps the door open with a chair. When he turns around, he discovers that the corridor has expanded and now there are dozens of doors. Theo goes to the room with the shelves and finds the door in the middle. When he steps in and turns on the light, the door closes behind him. Meanwhile Ella sees a door open in the dark corridor and goes inside. She looks around the room until she finds a tub with a dead woman in it. Suddenly the body starts moving and Ella screams as she tries to run away, only to bump into the stranger with the cane. He says he doesn't see innocent faces in the house often and asks her about her dad, but Ella just runs in the opposite direction. Theo hears her scream and desperately searches every room. In one he finds rain falling from the ceiling, while in another one he finds infinite stairs. Following Ella's voice, Theo begins kicking a door until the chair flies out and he runs back into the normal house to find Ella sitting on the stairs. They hug tightly as she shares how scared she is. Afterward, Theo tries calling Susanna, but he's sent to voicemail. Ella tells him to call Susanna's other phone, but he doesn't have that number. After leaving a message, Theo calls the store to ask the owner about a taxi service. The man tells him there isn't such a thing in the village and asks him if he used the triangle. When Theo says yes, the shopkeeper tells him that before that house, there was a different house, and before that one there used to be a tower. Legend says that the devil builds a tower to collect souls and God destroys it, but the devil keeps building it back. As the shopkeeper mentions the people who weren't able to leave the house, Theo keeps glancing at the wall and sees more and more photographs appear. He snaps and says he needs to leave now, but the shopkeeper explains it's not up to him. Suddenly the call is taken over by Stettler, who tells Theo that he's always here. A desperate Theo decides they'll walk to the village and almost panics when he can't open the door, but he just has to unlock it. As Theo and Ella leave, they see a person appear inside the house. They walk down the road as fast as possible and keep getting startled by various animal sounds. After walking for a while, they finally see some lights, however it isn't the village, it's the house again. Ella doesn't want to go inside, but Theo explains they have no choice and promises to protect her. Once they're both in bed, Theo admits that when he was young, he was rich and successful, so he lost track of his life and became someone he isn't proud of. However, Ella makes him a better person. The duo soon falls asleep, only for a camera flash to wake Theo up. He hears the water running in the bathtub, so he decides to check it out. When he enters the bathroom, there's no water at all. The doors close behind him, so he immediately pushes them, only to walk into the dark corridor. As water drips on the walls, he can hear Ella calling for him in the distance. Theo searches the area until he finds a tub full of water. Suddenly his dead wife grabs him from behind and pushes him down on the floor. Theo tries to defend himself, but the woman starts puking water on his face. After Theo struggles for a while, she disappears. Then Theo runs to the laundry room and finds the picture of him and Ella on the wall next to the old photograph. He rushes through the door and is shocked to see himself a few days ago throwing away the pen. After his other self goes to the village, Theo opens the journal and writes the mysterious message. Next he goes to the other room and keeps seeing himself and his family when they arrived. Theo tries using his phone and Stettler's voice tells him he isn't going anywhere. When Theo tries to take the stairs, they keep growing larger. The memories of the past few days keep mixing with reality as Theo tries to climb, but a strange energy makes him fall. He refuses to give up and tries again until he reaches the next floor. When he looks out the window, he sees Susanna parking, but this is mixed with the memory of their arrival again. In just one blink, Theo reappears in the creepy room and finally meets the stranger with the cane. He's Stettler, the owner of the house but also the devil. Ella's voice asking for help can be heard and her shadow appears on the wall. Theo tells Stettler to let her go and Stettler pokes him with the cane, so Theo steals it and threatens to attack. When Stettler blames Ella's situation on him, Theo starts yelling that he didn't do it and hits Stettler with the cane multiple times. Stettler begins to bleed, loses his glasses and even a tooth, yet he keeps talking about the sins of the father affecting the children. He takes off his hat and reveals that he looks like Theo, reminding him that mirrors only show a person their own selves. He also explains that the only one keeping Ella in the house is Theo. On the verge of a breakdown, Theo says he can't do this. Stettler tells him he knows what he must do and disappears. Then Ella appears behind him and they reunite with a hug while Theo apologizes for everything. Outside, Susanna has finally arrived. Theo puts Ella in the car and kisses her goodbye before talking to his wife in private. Susanna wants to work things out, however Theo thinks he belongs in the house. He explains that he didn't directly kill his wife, but when he found her in the tub, he didn't help. Theo could have saved her, but instead he watched her drown because he had been hating her for years and wasn't brave enough to divorce her. He tells Susanna that he can't run away from his shadow, confirming that the presence in the house has always been his sin. Susanna and Ella leave safely while Theo is stuck in the house forever. On the internet, the house goes up for rent again to catch new souls. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.